My name is George Moretti. Our company name is Innovated Integrated Solutions. We prefer to call it IIS. I've been in the packaging business for 44 years. I've been involved with many large companies where they have $1 million digital printing and then also $1 million 6, 7, 8 color printers. When I became involved in this company, when I wrote the business plan, the idea was to serve the small to medium-sized accounts that a lot of the larger companies could not afford from a cost-to-serve model to have a sales rep call on them or even set up a $6, 7, $8 million machine to run an order for them. A major advantage of having a digital printer in-house is the ability to react to customers' needs very, very quickly. And we can control our environment for response to them and get their artwork relatively quickly. And then we can be printing on the same day and then delivering either later that afternoon or the next morning if in fact that they need that. So you can convert exactly what they need when they need it, and if they need to change the print, there's no obsolete corrugated that's sitting in their warehouse or in your warehouse, in fact, if you're storing and releasing for them. Before we purchased the Excelagraphix, we did a complete analyzation of the cost model of what it would be, what the potential growth would be in our marketplace, but more importantly, what would the payback be? Because for a small company, $100,000 is a lot of money. It may not be a big company, but for us, I wanted to know what the payback was going to be. My calculations showed between a 12 and 16-month payback, which was very acceptable to me. We're on track to do that in probably 12 to 14 months, and I'm actually looking at purchasing another machine because of the potential business that is coming our way. So I'm very confident about the return on investment once you understand the marketplace, and then more importantly, how you price your product within this segment inside that marketplace. Currently marketing digital printing to the customers by getting them in the building. I mean, the facts are once a client is in this building and they see what the capacity and capability is for a digital print that we can do internally, almost all of them sign up for a sample or a test, or they have an item within their purchasing group that they want to try and convert to a digital if it's a new startup for a marketing plan. I would say a direction, especially if the salesperson is not familiar with digital, is, and I mean this in the most professional, positive way, is go to the marketing group, talk to the marketing people and the CEO and the people who own the company, run the company, and ask what their objectives and their goals and their vision is for the company. And then you want to marry that to what can we do from a packaging standpoint. Unfortunately, many times, not every time, the purchasing group is only interested in the cost. So if it's 10 cents more because it's digitally printed, then it's not a good project for them. But when you get to the marketing people, they have a different budget than the purchasing group has. And marketing will generally drive this if they're in alignment with the ownership and the stakeholders of the company. From a competitive standpoint, as a salesperson or owner of a company, you should be aware of the competitive landscape in your marketplace. I know, for example, competitor A in this market will not run an order below 1,000. When I have over 1,000, I generally call them if I need to outsource it. But when it's below 1,000, they'll call me sometimes to run the order. I have reached out to almost all of the competitors in the marketplace, and I am supporting some of their salespeople from a digital standpoint because they know their existing company doesn't have the capability to run digital. But I can help the salespeople sell digital for a test market, and if it gets big enough where it wouldn't make sense for me to run any Excelagraphix, they'll bring it in-house and do that. That also allows me to expand my sales force by using all of the top quality salespeople in the marketplace to help sell our digital capability and capacity without any fear of a competitive situation at all. So I'm supporting the competitors in the marketplace where it makes sense. If you're considering purchasing the Excelagraphix digital printer, I would suggest you know your market, you know the competitive landscape. Where are you within the bandwidth of that market? Is there any competition who can do what you think you're going to be able to do? And when you analyze that market, really determine what your return on investment would be. I believe the low cost of entry of the Excelagraphix makes it feasible for most independent corrugated operators to buy, train their sales reps on how to sell it, and understand the market before they actually get it installed so they understand what good looks like. My belief would be many of them buy it because it's nice to have and we're going to make digital samples on it, but they really don't understand the full potential when you move into digital and what the opportunity is in the marketplace. And lastly, I would say make sure you understand the competition. Is there a competitor doing this before you already? And if they're not doing it, why? And does your company allow you, does your culture allow you to move with the ability to hit the marketplace running with the digital printer? And do your salespeople understand how to sell value added? If you're going to sell digital or you're going to sell any value-added product, you need to build a profile of what you can do as a salesperson. Like, what am I good at? What kind of customers do I feel most comfortable with? And marry and match that profile with the profile of your company. And the company questions are, what do we do better than the competitors? What can we offer that the competitors can't do? So you marry then your personal profile with the company profile, and you build what I call a preferred customer profile. So I would strongly suggest you build a preferred customer profile for a digital customer. Before you make a call on an account, understand your strengths and your weaknesses. Build your profile of how you like to sell. Add your company's profile. Create your preferred customer profile from a digital standpoint. And I would strongly suggest you don't pick 50 targets or 50 accounts to call on. Pick 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Test your selling process and your statement and your close rate with those 5. What am I doing well? What am I not doing well? What's working? What's not working? Once you know what a good digital customer looks like, and it's going to be different for every company, it's not going to be the same across the board, then you scan your current account base and say, who fits the preferred customer profile that I've built? And then you make the call. It'll be a much easier sell. And most of them are going to be your existing accounts you're selling an additional product to, and the close rate is 80%. Then when you go into the new markets, you'll also say, one of your opening lines as a salesperson would be, look, you fit the preferred customer profile for my company, and let me tell you why. Can I come in? The ability to get an appointment, which is a huge roadblock today, is enhanced substantially if you can tell a new client or get someone on the phone and tell them you fit the profile of a preferred customer for my company and I'd like to come and talk to you. I've not had anybody say no to that question. Don't try and shotgun approach and sell everybody and come up with a canned speech. You got to talk from reality and knowledge. If you do not understand the digital world, don't try and call a customer and get an appointment to say, I want to come and talk to you about a new piece of equipment we got that there's no print place. Understand who you're calling on, why they would be interested in speaking to you, and then once you get that appointment, do an exploratory. Where are they at? Get in the plant. Take a look at their branding on their existing packaging. What is the purpose of the print on a box? Is it to have the customer read and understand what's in the box? Does it show that it's a hazardous label? Does it this side up? Is it just a part number so that they can find it in the warehouse? Or is it selling a product? I would also suggest, and we've done this for years, and many of the companies do this, they take their design group and they go visit a store. And they take a look at what the product looks like on a store. And then you could take a good, a bad, and an ugly, take an existing product, the way it's displayed in a store, take that and maybe make a prototype and a sample and mail that to somebody in a specific account and say, here's what you have. I'd like to come and talk to you about the potential of getting this type of graphic with a low cost of entry. A new client would be attracted to the digital process for a few reasons. Number one would be cost. Print plate cost $0 versus print plate cost several $1,000s. Another particular direction that would want them to go into digital is if they want to test a specific product within a market from the marketing group. You can trial and error different markets at a very low entry point. Plus, the quality of digital is incredible versus flexo. And what you can do with the 4-color 1600 by 1600 DPI is absolutely fantastic. Attracting new customers for our company, because of the fact that we have a pack size Z-fold machine married with the Excelagraphix, is we can get to market same day if we have to. We can run small order, exact quantity, no overrun, no underrun if we need to do that. And when the clients come in for a plant tour and they take a look at what we can do, it's an immediate decision. The answer is yes. And one of the main reasons is most of the competition will not or do not want to be involved in small run because the setup cost is so high on a traditional flexo equipment. And they prorate that setup cost against the quantity. So if your setup cost is $100 and you only need 10 boxes, it doesn't make any sense. We do not have a setup charge at all for the Excelagraphix or for the pack size Z-fold. There's no cutting die involved in the pack size Z-fold, and there's no printing plates involved in the Excelagraphix. So it's very low cost to get into the business quickly, and the customers are absolutely blown away that we were able to do this. From a sales perspective, a couple of points that a salesperson should be looking at is what is your customer, what do they want to achieve with a digital print versus what they currently have? Unless you really understand where the client wants to go and why they're doing that, it's very difficult to explain the value of a digitally printed box. So a case example of one customer that we had, they had the box plain, 4 or 5 labels being peeled and stuck on the box by people, 5,000 square feet of space in their warehouse of people peeling and sticking labels. And when you put all of the costs together on this particular project, and we digitally print all of that, and there was no people involved, they picked up 5,000 square feet in their warehouse, that's a value add. And it's not necessarily the price of the box. This box costs 50 cents and digitally it's 72 cents. That's not the direction to go. It's not a cost. It's what is it worth to the customer to have a digitally printed box? What are the benefits? What's the value added to that? And you got to look at the complete supply chain from when that box is bought until it's on the shelf and it's purchased by one of our customers' customers. The corrugated world is so competitive that if you're a privately held company or a small, medium-sized corrugated company, you're always being attacked from several different directions. So if you can and have the mindset to offer short run, quick turnaround, no minimum quantity, and have the ability, the capacity, and the capability to support that market, you will have a major competitive advantage against most of the competitors in your marketplace. One of the other areas to take a look at is if you can approach a new customer and convert 1 or 2 items into a digitally printed box that's of low quantity, to get, as they say, your foot in the door. The migration from that company to your company is very slow. Sometimes it's glacier speed. And when you're approaching the market that place, you can pick up a lot of business that you'll retain for a very long time because you're doing it the right way versus trying to take a big chunk of business against a big national footprint company. I believe as an independent and privately held company, we have to do things that the large companies don't have the ability to do, and more importantly, they don't want to do because their cost to serve model is totally different than ours. So nimble, quick, scalability, low cost of entry, and being there when the customer needs you immediately, major advantage in the marketplace. You don't want to force a sales rep to sell digital who does not have the ability to understand the advantages of digital. Many companies make the mistake of we're going to have all of our salespeople sell digital or sell graphics or sell whatever. And they make a big mistake because only one or two of them will be more successful than the rest of them. So the personal profile for the rep is key, but then more importantly, you've got to match the profile of the company. Does the company support what you're trying to do? Going back to a question, if you're a sales rep and you can tell a customer, digitally, I can give you an estimate of what the ink's going to cost. But if your system internally inside your company is that all the estimates need to be approved by a sales manager or general manager, you can get to market faster digitally in reality, but your process in the back end won't allow that to happen. If you're thinking about getting the Excelagraphix digital printer or any specialty value-added product from your company, I would strongly suggest as you re-examine your total sales compensation plan. Many of the sales compensation plans in the industry are outdated. They're based on volume, they're based on footage, and they're based on profitability. I believe that if you take a sales comp plan and use 3 legs to support a sales plan that has a base salary, a commission based on whatever you decide is important. But from the value-added standpoint, make it a focused sales objective. If you had an Excelagraphix digital printer, you're still paying your sales rep your base salary and commission based on their other business. But in the focused sales objective end, you could create a special incentive for the salesperson, A, to call on new accounts, B, to get them in the door for a plant tour to show them. Statistics show when you get someone inside your building, your close rate is 3 times what it would be if they weren't inside your building. I can't tell you how many independent companies I've worked with that tell me, George, when we get someone in this building, they're ours. So then I say, do you pay your salespeople to have someone come and visit? And they go, no. So it's not logical, and that's what I meant by align your goals and objectives of the company with your sales compensation plan. And the area I think would pay the greatest rewards is if you had a specific focused sales objective tied to the Excelagraphix and digital print. An idea would be convert an existing Flexo to digital print, we would pay X. A brand new customer to digital print, we would pay Y. A combination, we would pay Z. And let them reap in the rewards in order to attract the new clients to your company. If you take a look at cost to serve models or span of control from a sales perspective, the average salesperson can realistically support about 40 to 50 accounts on a weekly basis, and that's more than 40 hours a week. When you start getting more than 40 or 50 accounts as an independent, you can't give everybody the focus that they might need. So from a cost to serve model, you also, if it costs you $100 or $125 to make a sales call, you can't call on everybody every single time that they give you a call. So your ownership may not allow you to make the call on the smaller account. Someone who buys less than 500 boxes at a time or 1,000 boxes at a time or $15, $20, or $50,000 a year. In one of my past lives, we had a minimum of $1,000 per order or we would not serve your account. Quite frankly, most of those under $1,000 accounts, I absolutely love them, and that's where I go to start my entry into the marketplace. So if you're 40 to 50 accounts or you're less than $50,000 or $40,000 in packaging or corrugated, most of the big independent or big national footprint companies will not send a salesperson to help you out at all. And that's from personal experience on both sides of the fence. We couldn't afford to do it. When I ran a $500 million division with 1,600 employees, we would never do that with the salesperson. But now that this business is different, we don't have a minimum, and that strategy has proved to be very successful. So you got to make sure that your sales compensation plan, everything that your salespeople are working on are in total alignment of the goals and objectives of your company. And if they're not, you're just going to be very unhappy because you're not going to get the success rate that you really expect to get just because you have a digital printer. I actually love that question. What are the differences in the pricing model? The industry, the packaging industry, and many industries are a cost plus. In my opinion, that's a major mistake. What you want to take a look at is what is the market willing to bear, but in a positive sense, what's it worth to the client to get the product to market with the brand identity that they want. So if you take your cost and it costs you 40 cents on a brown box and it costs you 5 cents to print it and it's 45 cents and digitally is 95 cents because it's got 82% coverage and the ink is a major part of the cost on the Excelagraphix. But if you price to the market, what does the market think this is worth? Forget about your cost. You'll generally be much more successful in selling that concept and making sure your client understands the value add of the digital print from the Excelagraphix printer. Rochester Midland Corporation had an operation where they were buying plain boxes, and they had people in their facility, I think 3 or 4 of them, actually peeling and sticking different labels on each one of these containers. So I had a prior relationship with the senior buyer there, the director of purchasing, and we started looking at complete supply chain and looking at taking cost out of the system. Plus, it was taking a lot of space to put the labels on in their boxes. We started thinking about what if we could print the different labels that they were applying with the Excelagraphix on a box, but make the box white so the print would even stand out better. So we did an experiment, and then they expanded the ability to print by using a 80% gradient print, which was supposed to be very difficult. But after trial and error, we were able to print superbly on these boxes with an 85% coverage and gradient in several different colors. No more labeling, and we do on-demand boxes for Rochester Midland, which means they give us the order on Monday at 1 o'clock. We print Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday afternoon. We ship it directly to their production line. They have absolutely zero inventory in their building. So the cost, I believe, is neutral, or they've saved a little bit of money on that. It's been a great case study, quite frankly, and we're expanding that relationship as we speak. From a sales perspective, when you're analyzing the cost of a brown box versus a digital box, you want to make sure that you consider all the costs through the supply chain. Do they have to buy a minimum quantity of a brown box in order to keep the price point down? Do they get 10% overrun when they order the box? If the print changes and it's now obsolete, are they stuck with obsolete corrugated containers that were printed through Flexo that they can't use anymore? Major advantage of the Excelagraphix and the digital offering is you can run exactly what they need when they need it, and they can change it anytime they want at very little cost, if any, because there's no print plates on it.
Hi, my name is Rob Warnock. I'm the General Manager for Innovated Integrated Solutions. There's a lot of differences between digital and Flexo, but to someone who may or may not understand that difference, Flexo is going to be a higher volume, it's going to be a lesser of a quality, and more importantly, the digital process is a lot quicker and less expensive than going to buy flexographic plates. And the lead time involved in that is a much shorter lead time. On a Flexo print, we're getting approved artwork. We're getting that over to the print plate manufacturer. The big advantage, I believe, in digital is that when that customer says, oh my gosh, I just got the phone call, I need to change some wording on my artwork, or I need to change my logo, or the FDA said my label isn't correct, or my barcode number has been changed. Going back to a classic Flexo situation, we have to modify that printing plate. So with a change then, we would have to order a different section of a plate, or in some cases an entirely new plate, and wait a couple days for that to come in, or a week, and go back to press. In the digital world though, that change is rather instantaneous. If the wording changes in their artwork, simply all they need to do is change the artwork and send me a new file, and we're off and running again in a matter of minutes. In the digital world, when I get a request from a customer for matching a color on their logo, let's say, They typically have artwork that is ready or close to ready. The challenge becomes, what color is blue or Christmas green? It's all in the eye of the beholder unless I have something to compare it to. And different medias will have different responses to the color, as we know. The advantage in digital is I can tweak that very quickly. I can go right into IQ, which is the software version that runs the Xante, and I can place in different spot colors. I can actually, for the customer, print out a swatch of colors on the actual material that we're going to be printing so they can see the slight variances on that material. And so it's a much quicker approval process. So in terms of working with the digital world and artwork, a lot depends on the person's background ability. For myself, I had not had a lot of experience in Adobe Illustrator or really working in a pre-press environment. So it was a little daunting for me at first, but even with the rudimentary basics of Adobe Illustrator, I was able to quickly get up to speed on layouts and working and managing with customer art. If you have to create the artwork, if they come to you with nothing, then I highly recommend having either a digital artist on board with the company or having someone you can outsource that to. So if the customer doesn't have something ready and you don't have that talent, you may have to get that taken care of outside. From there, it's rather simple, though. Now we're just saving to a PDF and a flattened format. Very little prepress is actually required. Once we have that PDF that's ready to go, we can simply drop that into the software and print our first box within a minute. So in selecting somebody to become your main operator for the machine, I think there's perhaps even two. There's going to be an operator side that understands the mechanics and the quality of the print, and there's also going to be a pre-press side. If you can ideally find an individual that can do both, that'd be fantastic. Some of the requirements I would look at is a background in Adobe Illustrator or like programming. Someone who's obviously extremely comfortable with operating a computer and moving files around. The operation of the machine itself is very teachable. We, in fact, have taken 2 or 3 relatively new people, and inside of half a day of training, they were up and operating on their own. When we're deciding about how many boxes make sense to run, typically our decision process is if we're going to start competing with where Flexo becomes affordable, so if we're into the thousands and thousands of boxes for a run, that it really doesn't make sense for us, and it's not going to make sense for the customer either, unless the digital quality that they're looking for and they can't get it on a Flexo, then we could certainly take that order, but it would be over a certain amount of time. To tie up the machine with a 5,000 box run would simply impact our ability to take care of our other customers. So it's not necessarily a machine limitation as much as how much do we want to take on to maintain our capacity on that machine and maintain throughput for other customers. So classically, in my opinion, 500 to 1,000 boxes is not a big deal for the run. We can certainly even do more than that, but I want to make sure that because of the multiple customers we have, that I'm just not tying up that machine time on a larger run. So having our digital capability here, we're able to actually store less material. What's great about the digital is that I'm not having to produce truckloads of finished goods and storing them for my customer until they need it, because typically your customer is going to push that back on us as a warehouse. So I can produce on demand, I can make the box on demand and print on demand, and it really helps to lower our inventory carrying costs, and everything that I'm making off the back of that machine is a sale that day, next day, out the door.
Not one complaint from any customer on any job we've ever done. Many of them are looking for other projects that we can get involved in within their company. And when the marketing people see what we've done, and we generally bring them in right in the beginning because it's important from a cost standpoint, because they have a different budget than a lot of the other groups inside of a company. Many of them, we look for additional projects to work with And we like to crawl, walk, and run. So we'll try something small, make sure they're happy with it. We're improving the process on a daily, weekly basis of getting to market faster for these accounts and helping them understand the value added of a digital print program versus a flexo print program. By having a digital print like Excelagraphix and potentially a pack size or a box making machine, is you can maintain existing accounts, but also serve them where you may not have had the capability or capacity in the past to do that with the small short run. They may have been going to another competitor of yours. And if you can get them to stop going to a competitor and reduce their vendors, that's very positive for your customer, but it also gets you into another segment of that account's business that can help you grow. And then through word of mouth, that you'll be the person to go to in that marketplace for short run, quick turnaround, high quality, and very low cost of entry. The Excelagraphix has had a major impact on our business growth in two specific ways. Number one was to take existing customer base and offer them a new product, which expands the reach inside that customer. Number two is it allows us to approach different segments in the marketplace, like the pizza business, the real estate business, the moving box business, and there are several others that we're looking into. We would not have been able to move into those segments without purchasing the Excelagraphix.